Synchronizing Act with Google lets you bring your Google account's contact and calendar data into Act so that you can view everything, including your Gmail history, from within Act. In this video, I want to show you how to synchronize your Google Calendar to your Act database. To begin, let's open the Google Synchronization Preferences window. From the Tools menu at the top, I'm going to go to Integrate with Google and choose Google Integration Preferences. First, you should ensure that the database you want to sync with is listed at the top of the window. If this is not the correct database, then click the Change button to change that database. Next, if you have not yet requested a current security token from Google, click the Request Token button beneath to connect to your Google account. Once these two steps are complete, to start, I'm going to click the Synchronize Calendar tab. Now, by default, the setting says Do Not Synchronize. So let's look at the other choices in this dropdown. One-way sync Act to Google means that you're only syncing your calendar from Act to your Google Calendar. In this case, you'd be best served using your Google Calendar as your main calendar. One-way sync Google to Act means that you're only syncing your calendar from Google to Act. In this case, you'd be best served using your Act calendar as your main calendar. And then finally, we have the two-way sync, which syncs Act and Google with each other. This means you could use either one since they're both going to be up to date all the time. I'm going to choose this last method, the two-way method, but when I do so, I need to clarify 2 points of collision. First, what should I do when a calendar activity gets edited in both calendars before I synchronize them? Here I can choose to either let the Act activity or the Google activity win, but I think I'm going to choose to keep the latest activity. Second, what should I do in Google when I clear an activity from my Act calendar? I can choose to either keep the activity in Google or I can delete it from Google. Since I always record history of all of my activities in Act, I'm going to delete the activity from my Google Calendar. Now let's click the Advanced Preferences button to see some more options. Here you'll find 3 additional preferences. First, you can choose which types of activities you want to sync with your Google Calendar. I'm going to choose my call, meeting, and to-do activity types since those are the only ones I use. Second, you can choose a range of days that you'd like to sync with Google. This first field are the days in the past, and the second field allows you to set up future days that you'd like to sync. So when a synchronization is performed between Act and Google, this is the default range that will be affected. I'm going to keep it as 14 days ago and 30 days in the future. And then finally, you can specify where the alarm should ring when an activity triggers an alarm. You can choose to ring the alarms in Act, in Google, or in both. Now let's click OK to accept these preferences. What if you want synchronization to take place automatically? Well, let's click the Schedule Automatic Integration button to set up a recurring synchronization on your preferred dates and times. First, specify how frequently you want to sync with Google. You can choose to disable automatic synchronization, or you can choose to sync daily, sync at a specific time period, sync only when your computer starts up, or synchronize in real time whenever the records change. I'm going to choose this last option so that my records are always up to date in both applications. Now in the sync timer down below, I can specify a time window during my day when I want synchronization to take place. And since I'm never working during evening hours, I may as well give my computer some rest too. So I'm going to choose to only synchronize between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. And that's it. I'm all finished with the automatic sync schedule. And when you schedule automatic synchronization like this, it only needs to be done once for any of the integration services. So if I set it up for my calendar like this, it's going to also synchronize my contacts and my Gmail history at the same time, if I have those enabled. So let's click OK. And now I'm finished with my calendar synchronization preferences, so I'm going to click OK once again. And at this point, Act asks me if I want to perform my first synchronization now. So I'm going to click Yes. At this point, Act is synchronizing my calendar between Act and Google. So let's take a look at my Google Calendar now to see if this week's activities have been synced over. I'm going to open a browser, and on the right, I'm going to choose my Google Calendar. Now let's create a calendar activity here in Google so that we can see if it gets synchronized back to Act. So I'm going to click on today's date in Google, and at 4 o'clock, let's add a new activity. The title is going to be Status Update Meeting, and it should last an hour long from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. In the description area, I'm just going to type Status Update for all projects. And that's it. So I'm going to click Save. And now, since I have set the synchronization to be in real time, this activity should already exist in my Act calendar. So let's go back to Act just to check. In Act, I'm going to click the calendar in the left navigation. And so here we can see the meeting has been scheduled in Act. So enabling Google Calendar synchronization in Act can save you time by allowing you to work in either application without fear of missing an important meeting, phone call, or task just because you forgot to check both calendars. Regardless of where your calendar items are entered or modified, you can be confident that your calendars will always be up to date.